question for consumers, sellers, and officials this morning, and that is over demand, whether it will be overwhelming and whether it might outstrip supply. We're giving you a rare look this morning inside one of the many facilities working to meet that demand. And let's go to Brett Ruskin, who's inside the largest marijuana grower on Prince Edward Island, obviously not alone this hour. So, Brett, tell us about who is with you now.
And good morning, Heather. Well, this is the CEO, Edwin Jewell, of this operation here. And as you said, this is a pretty big facility. So you're kind of the big shot here, aren't you?
I don't know if I use those terms or not, but I'm making sure things go well.
And so tell me where we are right now. I mean, we're wearing these suits, very fashionable. Why are we wearing these?
At Figure, we do our best to make sure that we don't bring contaminants into the building. So as guests or visitors, we have everyone put on a hairnet, a white suit, and booties to make sure we reduce the risk of bringing germs or insects or anything else into the building that we don't want, obviously.
Kind of clinical. You don't want like my hair in your cannabis when you go and pick it up next week, right?
100%.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, where are we right now? Like, what do we see behind us? Because I don't know much about the process. What do we see here, for example? These medium-sized guys.
So this whole process for us of growing cannabis starts in this room. This is what we call the mother room. We have mothers at various stages of growth. We have some really big ones behind us that we'll take cuttings from very soon. And they last about 4 months. When they're gone, we throw them out and we start fresh. So some of the smaller plants you see behind us are ready to take the bigger mother's place when time comes.
So we have smaller mothers, bigger mothers behind us here.
Yes.
And how many plants that we saw earlier this morning can come from one of those big mothers?
So one of the larger mothers would produce 50 to 60 or even 70 cuttings or clones.
Wow. So this is quite a lot of production here, even in this relatively medium-sized small room.
Yeah, this is, in any crop you grow, it all starts with good seed, so you need to have good plants. These aren't started from seed, they're started from cuttings, but you need good plants, good mother plants that are free of disease, free of insects, and that's how we start. And if you get a good clean start, then you've got a great start to the whole process.
How'd you get into all of this?
This all started for me as a way to add value to a greenhouse operation that I was running. I had a garden center and I was looking for another plant to grow that would add value to my greenhouse business. I thought of cannabis, and we've taken it from there, from growing potatoes to growing horticultural plants to now growing cannabis.
Growing potatoes to growing cannabis, spuds to buds.
100%, yeah, that's right.
And so the question that I have for you is supply going to be enough to meet demand? That's kind of the question that we're talking about today. So come next week, are there going to be enough supply for folks who are buying cannabis?
That's the $64 question right now. Everybody's really wondering the same thing. I'm doubtful there are. There's companies like ours that are building out as we are. You know, this time next year we'll be 30 times as big as we are today. So we have a huge expansion underway. But for legalization, when it happens a week from today, certainly we'll have products in P.E.I. and Nova Scotia, and will we be able to keep up? Time will tell.
Great. Edwin, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Heather, back to you. So again, this is the largest producer on Prince Edward Island, and it's quite the facility here. So we are here in a specialized room here. I'm here with Emily, who's one of the workers here. And so this doesn't look the same as the other rooms that I was in before with the big dramatic plants. No. These have little dramatic plants, don't they? What do we have in here?
So we're in the tissue culture lab here at Canada's Island Garden. So in this room we're actually doing micropropagation, which is a form of cloning.
Cloning cannabis plants?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Why? What benefit does that have?
So this room is actually very sterile, so we're able to take plant tissue from the other rooms and bring it in here and clean it. And
I had to change my outfit from one fashionable coverall to another fashionable coverall, yeah, just because of that sterility concern?
Absolutely, yep.
And so what do we have these little plants here?
So we can take a tiny piece of plant material and bring it into the lab.
Here,
and
show it up close so we can see. Yeah.
Clean it.
Yeah, there.
And we put it into sterile growth media, which is just a mixture of agar and salts and sugar. And we're able to put the plant material in these test tubes and grow them into larger plants.
So this little guy will become a larger plant and will eventually be transformed into cannabis that people will be able to purchase on Prince Edward Island, and those ones a little bit bigger?
Yeah, so they continue to grow in the test tubes, and then we're able to multiply them into more and more plants until we have enough that they're able to go into a grow room, and they'll turn into a full cannabis plant.
And then you have even larger, the next stage up there.
Yeah. So we'll put them into tubs eventually rather than the test tubes, so that they have a little bit more room to grow, and we can put more in here and just keep multiplying them until they're big enough to move out.
This sounds kind of like transplanting. It sounds like almost conventional horticulture. Is there anything really special about cannabis versus, I don't know, tomato plants?
No, like tissue culturing is fairly common in the horticulture industry. There's lots of other plants that are grown through tissue culturing, so we're just trying to incorporate it in here now.
Into cannabis now.
Yeah.
Well, that's neat. Hey, thank you so much for showing me this corner of this lab. Again, this is the largest cannabis producer here on Prince Edward Island, and again, it's going to be producing cannabis for not only Prince Edward Island, but also over to Nova Scotia as well in time for next week's legalization. Heather.
You realize, of course, you're living on in perpetuity and in infamy in our archives in a hairnet. I just want you to know.
Yeah, that's going to the archives.
Yeah,
isn't it?
okay. Anyway, it's been absolutely fascinating, Brett. Thank you very much. What a perspective. Brett Ruskin, who is in Charlottetown and has been all morning for us.